Hey, I'm Dark Steel, and this is another installment of Prepper Fridays. Today we're going to do things a little bit differently than we've done in the last few. I am wearing a different colored sweater today, and just to build on last week's question. Stay tuned to the end of this video for your Prepper Tip of the Week. I've been trying to keep things light by posting skits and funny stuff on my channel here. And if you're looking for a laugh, then by all means stop this video and go watch one of those. They're lighthearted and just for fun. Because today's rant, I'm afraid, is going to be a little bit more serious. So the basic topic today is kind of building on last week's rant, which was, could this be the big event? This one is the question, are we there? Is this it? And I'm starting to feel it. I constantly watch news, and I've even said before, news, if you understand that the news is a television show based on ratings and based on current events, just like any other, South Park. South Park is a great place to get your news, and some would argue more entertaining. But it's just a show. So yeah, if you watch one news, it's going to say things slanted towards this direction. If you watch another one, it's going to say things slanted to this direction. You need to take the current events and decide for yourself, and quit listening to what those people have to say based on their opinions. Form your own opinions. So yeah, all news is fake news, and all news is real news, and it's kind of a mix of both, because it is through the human filter. So yeah, you're going to disagree with one and watch the other, and here's the deal. You're going to find one that works for you, and you're going to stick to it, and then you're going to start to believe whatever they say, because they're mirroring back your own opinions. They are building on what you already believe to be true and reaffirming it, giving you validity to your own beliefs. And this is great, except it's not. This is a hazard that we're all running into, and we're doing the same thing on social media. You find your way into little groups that agree with you, and then the whole world seems to be following your opinion, when in actuality, it's actually just a small group that's following your opinion and essentially validating anything that comes across your brain, and that makes you feel like everybody's seeing the same thing. And that's kind of why I'm posting this video, because I'm going to say some things in here that you might disagree with, and I hope to hear that in the comments. If you don't disagree with it, I want to hear that in the comments, because I want to raise a very serious question to the preppers who find this video, and hopefully we can help each other out, because if things go the way I see them going, things are getting bad. Things are getting serious, and it's time for us to be talking reality. Now, I hope you write me off as a lunatic. I hope that everything is just going splendidly where you are, and you don't see any of the same things I do. I hope that I'm wrong, but I hope that if I'm right, you have the sense to listen. You have the sense to make those decisions for yourself, form your own opinions, and do whatever it is that you've got planned to find safety for you and your loved ones. Prepping isn't about waiting for something to happen and reacting. That's what everybody's going to do. Prepping should be about keeping an eye on trends, keeping an eye on what's happening next, trying to figure out where everything's going, having a plan, and heading it off, being there before it happens. That should be prepping. I also see that my view is slightly slanted, because I am not as tied to regular society as other people are. I don't have, personally, a big mortgage payment hanging overhead. I don't have as high risk as a lot of other people, and I feel that. I understand that for me to just sit here and say, everybody bug out, it might be a little bit easier for me to say than for other people. There's some real risks, but anything worth gaining comes with risks. Everything in life is about gamble to receive something better. If you don't hold that gamble, then you don't receive something better. If you don't risk it all, then you don't move on. You have to take leaps of faith, but we have to base those leaps of faith on the best logic we can come up with, on the best information we have at the time. So, I am not telling you what to do. I am not telling you what you need to do next or inciting anything. I am asking you to look closely at the information that you have available to you and decide for yourself. Form your own opinions. Form your own ideas and understand that it's going to take risk. That it's going to take more than just sitting at your computer hoping everything's okay. As for my reasons why I'm saying any of this today, why I'm on this rant, is that I'm noticing a lot of trends myself. First off, people are all at odds, and there's nobody out there that can deny that. You cannot avoid conversations on politics, and it always, or not always, but it often gets out of hand. I have seen people throw their own family out of their house for weighing in on their opinion on politics. It is not a safe topic, and yet it's the topic on everybody's lips. So everybody's at odds, and that's a problem, because that causes tensions to rise. The other thing that I've noticed in the last few days, and that's kind of what prompted this, because I had some other things in mind. I had a different rant in mind, and I was just going to do a normal Prepper Friday, but I'm starting to see something more serious going on than just talking about the politics behind what we should be doing next and everything like that. Social media is dying. The last few days, my views on YouTube have plummeted. I am not seeing anybody really posting a lot other than like just trying to get their views up on Twitter, on... actually, I can't speak much for Facebook, don't go on there much. But on Reddit, my stuff has just started sitting. It's just sitting alone. I am seeing all of the social medias that I use all the time, that I normally am seeing, just kind of going, sitting still. Because people have other things on their minds. And I realize that this is probably because people have financial strains based entirely around the government shutdown. So I understand that they've got other things to worry about, but that's what I'm saying. They've got all of this other stuff to worry about, and they're letting this slide. So what happens when we lose social media? Because that very well could be where we're going. If we lose social media, then we lose a way that we've all become accustomed to using to communicate with each other. And then we are left to, I hate to say archaic, because it became archaic in my lifetime, but archaic forms of communication. And we're left to normal media, the news. Well, here's the deal. A lot of people, most people, have started really protesting, really saying that news can't be trusted. And I mean, I just myself said it, but I'm just saying keep an open mind. I'm not saying don't trust the news at all. But they're saying news can't be trusted, this fake news thing and all that. And fake news, primarily, they're talking about things that are being shared on Facebook and stuff like that, not the actual news. But like I just said, news is very opinion-based, and everybody's forming their own, and everybody's separating into these little groups. So people are going to have a hard time believing what they hear on the news. The other problem is breaking news. Breaking news used to mean something. Breaking news meant that they'd cut away from your current program to tell you that the president was shot. Now, breaking news means absolutely nothing. They flash a banner across the screen and say, breaking news, to get everybody's attention for a second, to give them news. Not breaking news, just news. So, breaking news now loses its validity, and we all have just learned to just kind of ignore it. So, when they do come out with the breaking news alert, everybody's just going to continue staring at their screens. Everybody's just going to continue flipping through their phone and doing whatever it is that they're doing, because it means nothing now. So they've taken that tool out of our hands, out of their own hands. Because of the government shutdown, and because of financial strains, food banks are now starting to be strained, and also women's shelters and abuse centers and things like that are starting to feel the strain as well, starting to lose their funding. People who have a legitimate need to seek out food from these food banks, from these women's shelters, from whatever, are now losing their ability to do so. And here's the thing that's coming right along with it. Food stamps now have an end date. where they're going to run out of funding if something doesn't happen with the government shutdown soon. So the food bank lines are getting longer and longer already, with government employees and people who can't afford to just go on living as normal lining up there. What happens when the people who are used to having their food bought for them by the government now have no money? Those food bank lines get longer, the food runs out. Hungry peasants revolt. I believe I said this before. When people start to get hungry, bad things are gonna happen. So you could see all of these different trends. You could see all of these different things going on at the same time that are all causing this shift. And yeah, it's largely based on the government shutdown. And as I said on last week's, I don't see that changing. It still hasn't changed. It's been another week, and here we are still talking government shutdown. It's out of hand, and it's not going to be fixed by one side or the other. How do we move forward? Well, we have to think about ourselves. We have to think about what's going to get you personally safe. And do not mistake this. I am not saying revolt. I am not saying riot in the streets. I am not saying go out and cause acts of violence. I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying that if other people start to come out violently, you need to already be somewhere where you've protected yourself from it. For me, it's looking like it's coming up on the time. It's looking like it's time to start being worried, to start living the way we've all been prepping to live. And so I'm doing that in a minimal way. I'm just making little shifts here and there to adjust my life to a new way of living, where I can be safe, where I can learn some new skills and everything like that. I've been working on just kind of shifting the way I live on a day-to-day basis, so that when things go on outside of my little world, things inside my little world continue as normal. And that's what I'm moving towards. I know that's not everybody's plan, and I can't say for what your plan is. I can't, and I hope that you've come up with a plan that you're ready to defend. I hope that you've come up with a plan that you think is better than that, if it's not essentially that. Because if not, what have you been doing? You need to think about what's going to work for you, and you need to think about whether or not it's time to activate that. And I realize that I am raining doom and gloom, and like I said at the beginning of this video, I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that this rant is for nothing. Maybe the government opens back up tomorrow or the next day. Maybe everything goes back to a way of life that is peaceful and calm, if ever we were there. But think to yourself, do you see that coming? Do you see that happening? What social trends do you see happening? And is it time to make moves to prevent anything bad from happening to you? Now, on a slightly separate note, I'd like to talk about something else I heard while watching the news the other day, which was I heard somebody talking about interpreting the law. A legal system that is open to interpretation serves no purpose to its people. I even heard somebody on the news saying something about interpreting the role of the presidency in terms of power. If there is a question of the role, power, or rights of the people, let alone their leaders, the system in place is broken. I realize that every legal system is going to have loopholes, is going to have gaps, and you should always work to fill those gaps in. And I realize that that it's always going to be slightly at fault because new things are going to come up, and they're going to change the way we look at things and everything like that. And so I get that. But when we're talking interpretation, that means that you haven't taken time to clear up, put in solid writing where there is no interpretation, it is fact. What are their rights? What can they do? What can't they do? There should be a rule book. If Hasbro, if Mattel, if board game companies can come up with a rule book where there is no interpretation, there are just rules here and there, I feel like people who are tasked with taking things a little bit more seriously than board games can do the same. I feel like we should have a less interpretive leadership system and more strongly structured leadership system where we're not just kind of winging it, deciding what he can do, what he can't. Because I know if I were president, I'd be taking advantage of an interpretive system. Okay, now I think I'll get into the prepper tip of the week. I'm just going to do it from right here. I'm not going to go out in the field and do it because I don't really have anything out there to show you. And I am not about wasting time, so let's just get straight into it. My prepper tip of the week is to study beekeeping. If you already know a lot about this, then you're ahead of the game. If you don't, you really should consider it because while it's complex, while it can be kind of difficult to get all of it down and master it, it's really more simple than you probably think. And honey is not only the only food that does not go bad, that you can still have 2,000 years later and spread on your toast, if that's your thing, but it can be used as medicine, not only for the common household remedy of sore throats, but it's an antiseptic that can be used for dressing wounds and could save your life. Bees cross-pollinate fruit-bearing plants to allow them to produce those fruit. So your very survival relies on the survival of the bees. If you can do your part to maintain that survival, that's even better. But it is important that bees are in your local area because you're going to start seeing crop failure if you do not take care of the bees, if there are not bees nearby. And maybe your neighbor is already beekeeping, and maybe you really trust your neighbor to do a good job there, in which case those bees are going to come over and cross-pollinate your plants anyway. But you might lose out on the value of having the honey. The other thing that honey brings in, and this is another thing I've talked about briefly, but it's a very important thing, is trade value. People are going to be looking for sweets at very least, besides the other values that come with honey. The wax can be used to make candles and other products, including you can make seals for your canned foods and stuff like that. So you need to be thinking about all of the different ways that you can utilize the very simple, industrious, and ancient art of beekeeping. Okay, so that was it for my Prepper Friday rant. I hope you're not disappointed by the change of things, and if we're still here next Friday, then I might go back to the other system. I just felt that I had some things I needed to say. Be sure and comment below and let me know what you think of this. Let me know what subjects I've missed. Maybe tell me what I should do on next week's Prepper Friday. We'll take this as we go. And I hope you guys are well. I hope that everything goes well for you. Go ahead and like this video if you liked it. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed so that you can stay tuned for other Prepper Fridays. And we'll take this one week at a time. As always, hope for the best, plan for the worst. All right, bye.